Again, I want to thank you guys for constantly tuning in with us. This is absolutely amazing. This is episode 14, guys.
It's episode
We've done
14.
this 13 other times with 13 other legends.
Amazing.
And each conversation has had its own, like, nuanced uniqueness. Like, every conversation is impactful in its own way, and they kind of all connect to this big umbrella that we call the hip-hop culture. And I'm a fan. Like, I do this work. I'm sitting here. Obviously, I interview our guests, but I'm also a fan of this work. I love listening to them. Today, we have a very special... Do y'all hear that? Do you think they can hear that?
They might be able to hear that.
Today, we got a very special guest. This is someone who I consider a friend. I was just telling her offline that every time I speak with her, she pours into me. Even today, when she came in, she immediately began pouring into me. And I'm telling you guys, especially black men, you got to have black women in your life that do that for you, because So, and I'm going to tell a story that's going to allude to this, but I just want to say this. Black women have a way of telling you the truth and being honest with you in a way that is both constructive, but also very pragmatic. Right? A lot of times your male friends may not want to offend you, or they may not want to approach certain topics with you, and so they just, brush it off. But get you a black woman as a friend, and I guarantee you that woman is going to both pour into you in a real way, but she's also going to be critical and pragmatic about you and your work, and you need that. I guarantee you it makes you a better person. I don't understand men that are out here and that have adversarial relationships with women. I don't understand the whole battle of the sexist thing. I love black women. As y'all can tell, my sister Kai is with me every week, and we do this because of our vision and because we talk and communicate. I want to tell y'all a story real quick, because I didn't get to tell you the story offline, so I'm going to say it online. 1999, I was a rapper, right? So I'm rhyming, I'm running around, thinking I'm going to get on. That was the phrase back then, I'm getting on, right? Hawk, shout out to Hawk. Hawk used to be Biggie's road manager. I grew up around the corner from Hawk. Hawk took a liking to me, right? He, figured, let me help this young man out. And he connected me with someone who lived in the building that we call Melrose Place. It's on Washington and Gates. The big building on Washington and Gates. In the 90s, we used to call that Melrose Place. So
right across the street from Brown Memorial.
Right across the street from Brown Memorial Baptist Church. Right. Shout out to Reverend Miller. So this is 99. I go upstairs to the producer spot, and there's a couple people there. Renee is one of the people in the apartment. So the producer throws on a beat. He tells me, listen, go in the booth, let me hear you spit. And I go in there and I go crazy. Here's the thing though. Every other word was the N-word. Like literally my writing, and you mentioned how my writing affects you now, but imagine the arc, right? Because I'm 23 years old, and I think I'm doing what I think I should be doing, not what I should be doing.
So you knew better.
Of course I knew better.
So it was a choice.
It was a choice. Mm-hmm. It was what I thought I should be doing versus what it is that my heart tells me I should be doing, right? But at 23, you're not always there, right? No. So I go in there, and every word is the N-word, and I'm rhyming the N-word with the N-word, right? And I'm going, and then I come out the booth. Renee is sitting there on the couch with another gentleman, and immediately she says, you should stop using the N-word so much. This is the first time, now mind you, I come in the house, I see Renee from Zhane, I'm immediately starstruck. Like, yo, there's a star in here, I'm going to put on my best foot. But we never had a conversation. That was the first thing she ever said to me was, you should stop using the N-word so much. Ever since that day in 1999, every time I see this woman, she pours into me. And everything that she says affects me in a positive way. Obviously, I'm not a rapper. But I'm also no longer doing what I think I should be doing. I'm doing what I should be doing.
Wow.
And so that's where I want to start this conversation, because I want y'all to know how I feel about this woman and the effect that she's had on my life. I want to introduce to some. I want to present to others. Renee Neufville. How you doing?
Thank you for that.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
I'm doing well, and to your point, I'm really not great at telling lies. Mm-hmm. I'm not that great at being not truthful or phony with people. I come as I am. And in that moment, I'm sure when I did say, maybe you shouldn't use the N-word, it wasn't in a dogmatic way. It was probably in more of a tough love sort of way. Because I believe that, in particular in our community, Black women and Black men, we can, it would help us to see each other in ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
The way the system is today, the way the system has been designed, especially in our community, Black men and Black women have been set up to be adversaries.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's great to be independent. However, I believe in balance. And so when I live my life, I see people. I look straight into your heart. I look straight into your soul. I'm going to give you the respect as a human being first. And this started, I guess, as early as my teenage years. My parents were that way. My dad's still alive, so I should say my dad's still that way. And I'm just honored to know you at this juncture in your life, because you are, to me, one of the most brilliant minds that I know personally. The way you put your thoughts and your words together on not paper, but as you text it, as you do your posts, it's like a screenplay. You're such a visual writer. And all of your concepts and your ideas and your perspectives are so compelling, and they're so unique to you. You don't think like everyone else, and you're not afraid as a man to stand in your truth. And so I have to tell you today that I truly respect and honor that about you, you know, and I will always tell you how great you are, because it's important for you to know. That's all. You have to know. You have to know.
But that interaction between you and I back in the 90s, kind of, so I'll tell you how I felt. I didn't feel like it was an adversarial comment. I felt like you were talking to the piece of me that needed to hear that, if that makes sense. Because again, at 23, you're going through everything. And again, I'm trying to get in an industry that I really did. I'll be honest, I didn't, and I can say it now, I didn't love the game. It just was that I felt like it was my place to try to get on, because everybody around me, that's what they were doing. Right? And I could write, right? And I could write rhymes. And so I just felt like it was compulsory to do it. But when you said that to me, you spoke to the me that exists now. At 23, I didn't know that this person was inside of me. You spoke to that person. And so that's why, and I said this again offline, that every time we connect, I'm listening. You understand? Like every time we talk, I got pictures of us where you're like talking to me, right? Yes. And every time I listen. And so I'm thankful for all of your blessings and your kind words, but I'm even more thankful for your friendship and the fact that I can listen to you. I want us to start at the very beginning. Like, I want to know where were you born here, or were you born in jail?
I was actually born in Methodist Hospital in Park Slope.
That's where my kids were born. That's a good start. Right.
Yes, and we lived in Crown Heights. My uncle Lance Neufville, he worked for the UN at the time, but he owned one of those buildings in Crown Heights.
Nice. What block?
Union Street.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Pacific between New York and Ocean. I'm from Crown Heights too. That's funny. Yeah.
So you know the block.
Yeah.
And so I think the first 2 years of my life, my parents and my brother and I lived in that building, in one of the apartments. And years after that, we moved to East Flatbush. So my formative years of life were spent in East Flatbush, right near Tilden High School. I did not attend Tilden though, but I lived on that block in front of Tilden High School, and that's where Hey Mr. DJ was shot. It was shot in my backyard. Yeah.
So I'm blessed to have gotten to meet both of your parents. as you said, your mother has transitioned, your father is still doing his thing. So I got a sense of your root, but tell me about your childhood. What type of child were you? What type of parents were your parents to a child like you?
Wow. Well, I'm one of 3 children. I have 2 older brothers.
Yes, I remember that.
And my father is a retired school teacher. So he taught in Jamaica, where he was born, and then he taught here in the States. He taught in Medgar College. He taught in the Bronx, South Bronx, and Brooklyn, Canarsie. He taught all over. And my mom was a registered nurse, but she was quickly made to become a head nurse in about maybe less than a year of her being here in the 60s. My parents met each other here. In 4 months, they were married.
Wow.
Yeah. My father always said, Ren, he said, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. He said to me, at the end of the day, it doesn't take a man a lifetime to know. And when he met my mom, she told him, you're in this position in life right now. I'm in this position in life right now, but we can probably help each other. 2 heads are better than one. And that's when he knew that that was the woman that he needed to marry. And they stayed together for about 51 years. So she passed.
That's an amazing connection. You had 2 older brothers. You were the youngest child.
Yeah.
2 older brothers and 2 strong parents meant that you probably was very much protected.
Oh my goodness. First of all, I was extremely shy.
Right.
I was a shy kid up until maybe high school. Like senior year of high school. My brothers, we were all pretty good kids because Dad was very strict. He didn't play any games. And we were raised in a church. And our home was pretty much like school because we lived with a teacher who was strict.
Right.
As a matter of fact, during that time, my father taught in Canarsie in the 80s when they had just sort of integrated the schools. So they were busing the kids from Brownsville to Canarsie. And Dad was the only black male teacher figure in that school system. So, he had his experience and challenges in those days, just being that guy. And I actually went to his school for 2 years. Then I went to Bildersee Junior High School, and then after Bildersee, I went to Midwood High School.
Right.
My brothers went to Tilden. I'd gotten into tech, but I didn't want to do engineering at the time, so so that was the story. But our home was we weren't given everything we wanted. No, we were given the things that we needed. My parents were very pragmatic people, and I was raised on tough love. It wasn't a whole lot of playing around in the house.
Would you say it was strict?
Very strict. I mean, I didn't even go to my prom.
Wow.
I didn't have a Sweet 16 party. And to be honest, I was that kid that really didn't require all those things. I didn't ask much of my parents. I wasn't the girl that wanted the Gucci bag and the Fendi bag. I wasn't in the in crowd. I hung out with the quiet girls just like me.
Right.
People like Lucinda Lee, Brandon, or like Natalie Bailey and Denise Peer. And, my circle, we were very similar.
Right.
Most of us, if not all, were from Jamaican parentage. And back then, the Jamaican parents, West Indian parents did not play with their kids. It was just a way of rearing kids,
right,
especially in our neighborhood.
Right.
No matter how much money we made, because these were immigrants that were coming straight from the islands, that were born in the 30s and the 40s, and that were raised in an environment that called for that. It was just the way it was. And here we are, first generation American children of immigrants, and not that we're experiments, but they're just gonna teach us and raise us the way they know how. Never mind the changing world.
Right. That doesn't matter.
That
Outside
doesn't, no.
matter.
They didn't have a foresight to say, well, this world is going to change.
Right.
So they gave you what, which of course is, I think, the natural thing as a parent. You can't really read the future. You give your child what you know and you pray for the best.
When did you know that you could sing? Like, when did you realize that that was a talent that you had?
It wasn't something that was encouraged in the house. And so I didn't look at myself that way. I started to learn music formally at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in the 70s. So my teacher was a man by the name of Mr. Eisler. And we started with Bach and Beethoven and all the foundational, classical pieces that most students, piano students, learn. And every Saturday, my dad would drive me down Eastern Parkway from Church Avenue, Eastern Parkway to BAM, and he would wait down in the lobby, take my half an hour, 45-minute lesson, and we drive back down Eastern Parkway. We stop off at Union Street to visit Uncle Lance in Crown Heights on every Saturday.
Right.
We'd go to Utica Avenue to a place called Gig Young and get our hard dough bread fresh out the oven and get 2 beef patties and go back home to East Flatbush. And back then, Brooklyn was a very different place. I was thinking about that on my way here because I spent the day with my father as well. I've got to be like hands-on with him now. He's in his 80s.
Absolutely.
And, the drive from my home in East Flatbush here reminded me of those Saturdays. It's funny that you asked because it was the same route that I took today. And I thought to myself, as the sun is setting, I'm facing the sun because it's the golden time of day, and I'm in the car, I'm thinking to myself, wow, look at all this traffic, Renee. It's a lot of traffic. I miss the way Brooklyn used to be.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, what is different? Well, for one, as a kid, sitting on these benches during the 70s, Eastern Parkway, there were few cars. And the reason why there were fewer cars is because every household did not have a car back then in the 70s. So most of the streets were empty, right? Another thing was these buildings, these brownstones, these limestone buildings. I remember as a kid, I always felt like when I looked at these structures, I could see the past. And my past then as a kid was the 50s and the 60s. I saw the history, I felt the history. That was different. It was a calmer borough. We had crime, but there was more living done outside. So you interacted with your people. Life was happening outside. We weren't slaves to this box that we hold,
Right.
And then I started just, I went down a rabbit hole of what the implications of this could really mean for our future, But, every Saturday, that was my experience. And I remember we'd hear just the two of us, on the radio, songs like, everybody plays a fool sometimes. That was the soundtrack of my life, coming from East Flatbush down Eastern Parkway to this neighborhood when I was learning how to play the piano.
It's so funny because I just had a conversation with my barber that really spoke to this, because one of the things he said was, foundationally, our childhood was so connected to the earth and our environment. And I said, well, what you talking about? We lived in Brooklyn. But he said, no, but look, we didn't have any digital appliances, right? We were outside until we were forced inside. And everything mattered. Like, everything mattered on this level, not on a this level where it's interactive, virtual. It really doesn't matter. Like, somebody says something bad about you in a comment on social media, and kids nowadays get anxiety from that. But that would have never mattered to us as kids before, because
that's shooting.
You just turn it off. It's right. It's not real.
Right.
So what you're saying, I received that. What I want to know is, kind of, at what point did you come across hip hop?
Oh, I would have to say it was the fourth grade, and Flavia Black had a birthday party at a roller rink on Utica Avenue, right next to Rugby Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I was invited, and that was the very first time I heard Rapper's Delight. And there was no sound like that before. Like, I never heard a sound like that before. It was melodic, but it felt so, it just felt so hip and so cool. You knew that whoever was rhyming on these songs, because I'm 9 years old,
Right.
so these people were the age of maybe my eldest brother.
Mm-hmm.
And as kids, you always looked up to the older kids.
The older kids, right.
You always respected the older kids, and then kids always respected the elders or the parents or the adults. And I was intrigued. But back then, what's interesting is that music, the role music played in our lives back then was the same role everything else played. So music had its place in your life, but you didn't, we weren't all dreaming like I'm going to be a recording artist, because
Right.
it wasn't a reality.
Right.
Music was just music.
Right.
It was important, just like going to church was important, just like, going to OTB was important to people,
OTB. That's old school.
That's what it was,
Right.
though.
Off track betting.
That is what life was.
Right.
Right? That's the life we lived. And that's what informed the music that I wrote. That's what informed hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like people were listening to hip hop like, I gotta be the next rapper. No, they were taking it in, really being present with it.
Right.
Just like a good plate of food.
Right.
So it was so pure. It was a pure moment.
What was the music playing in your household at the time?
Everything from the soundtrack to Roots, because that came out in '78. Dad bought the vinyl. We'd always go down to Church Avenue to this place called Superpower to
Yeah,
buy.
Superpower. Yeah.
Right. And I would go with him every Saturday, on the weekends, and he'd ask the shop owner to play whatever shipment they got that was new, right? Because that's how you hear the new music. It wasn't like radio was playing everything.
Right.
They play rock, they play. So Dad would really have like a listening session every weekend, and if he liked something, he'd take 3. He'd take one of this, one of that, one of this. So one of the records that I know he used to run was Aretha Franklin's Jump to It. Shalimar, The Second Time Around.
This is 80s. This is it. Right?
My favorite decade.
Yeah, this is that.
For the record, my favorite decade of life is the 80s. We play Harry Belafonte, the soundtrack to The Wiz, because we saw the Broadway play with Stephanie Mills. Whatever. OJ's, She Used to Be My Girl. And as a matter of fact, at that time, my uncle Earl Skyers, was managing a new artist by the name of Yellowman.
Wow.
And he was going on the road with Yellowman, so anytime he was in town, he would stay with us. And every time he came home, he would bring these white labels.
Right.
So all the dance hall white labels, like, Sister Nancy, Yellowman, all those people, he would bring to the house. But because my father was so strict, I had to sneak and listen to those records.
Your father won't let you listen to them?
No, because of the patois.
Right.
He didn't want me to, pick up the patois, because my father is a teacher. He went to Michael, and the Myconians, they raise their kids a certain way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
I had to hide and sneak.
He didn't want you to develop that slang.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Mm-mm.
It's sort of like American parents not wanting you to talk slang in the house.
Right. Back then,
Right.
that's how it was. But I got to it anyway, because no one could keep me away from this music.
Right.
So I would be down in the basement memorizing Sister Nancy's lyrics, because I was like, a woman is chanting and she's going toe to toe with the men, like she's holding it down. Like even at 9, 10, 11, I knew there was something special about this woman. It called to me. So of course, Michael Jackson, every popular record we had downstairs in the basement. And on the weekends, Dad would have his session and his boys would come over. They played dominoes. and they play Penny for Your Song. I mean, old school, like ska music, everything.
Midwood was dope. Going to Midwood. Enjoyed it. Like, it
oh
was
my
like,
gosh, Midwood was the best.
Yeah, because you said the 80s is your best decade, so now
My absolute favorite decade of life is the 80s. You want to know what I was playing this morning?
What are you just playing this morning?
Okay, so when I'm home, the first thing I do from my room, I scream, Alexa! I have Alexa now.
Yes, my kids love Alexa.
I was gifted an Alexa, and I was gifted an Alexa, so she's my roommate now. Anyway, I was like, Alexa! Good morning. Good morning. Alexa! Play NPR. So play NPR news, and then after that, I think about what do I want to feel today. So you know what I was listening to?
What you listening to?
That we gotta put more respect on his name.
Who that?
Alexa, play Lionel Richie.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, play the Commodores.
Right.
So I don't just want to hear Penny Lover. I want to hear Zoom. Because that era is just...
Yeah.
And when I came downstairs this morning to get my coffee, I just felt so good. It just took me right back. And I do it every day.
Right.
Every day I go straight to the 80s.
Right. The music from the 70s and 80s, were, like you said, it was like a home-cooked meal.
Yeah.
The music now is more like Five Guys or Shake Shack or Chipotle, right? But the music from the 70s, 80s was definitely home-cooked.
Yeah.
So you finished Midwood. Do you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Temple.
You went to Temple. That's right. I know you went to Temple.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how I know
Tamron.
Yes, Tamron, right?
But also,
exactly.
we have a couple.
No. Also, wait. Let's get back to Midwood.
Yeah.
So in my homeroom, there were also so the homeroom, we had Stephanie Ivy, we had Heather Sims, Victor Williams, Hakeem Jeffries.
Right.
My homeroom.
Yeah. And so we had, actually, you know who Anne-Marie Malcolm is? Anne-Marie also went to Midwood during the time Hakeem was there. She's now the principal of Diva Prep. She's from Jamaican heritage.
But was she in the Med-Sci program?
I don't know. She's a principal.
Because remember, I was
and
quiet
I don't know if
in
her last
Midwood.
name was Malcolm. Anne-Marie is her name, though, but I'm not sure. But yeah, we've had conversations about Hakeem being in Midwood at the time.
Yeah.
Y'all were cool?
Who?
You and Hakeem?
We were in the same homeroom. So, back then, first of all, Midwood was one big family.
Right.
So, of course, everyone was, to this day, we're still close.
Right.
We're still friends.
Yeah.
Wilkie, Kayende, we're all still friends. Every so often, we go back, we get back together, and, we'll have brunch together. We go to movies together. We still, we still keep that in touch.
So a lot of people outside of New York City really don't understand that paradigm, where in New York City, high school and where you went to high school really spoke a lot for you. And people that grew up in our time frame have this uncanny connection to their high school classmates. Like we all went to Tech. Everybody here went to Brooklyn Tech. Like we all were in high school together.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look at my friends, like the people who I consider my friends, my circle, they all either went to my high school or my college.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So we in New York City, especially in Brooklyn, we take that high school. Like if you meet somebody that went to Brooklyn, you're gonna ask them, well, what high school you went to?
Oh, every day.
That's the question. Like that's the question.
All day.
It's not what college you went to. We don't care about that. What high school did you go to?
Yeah, and let's stay there, because for me, high school was the point where I'm just now leaving the parents' home and going out to the world to become whatever we become. But growing up back then, it was like, this is your set. You're spending all these hours every week with the same people, and you're going from adolescence to young adulthood together. And it definitely separates the boys from the men, because there are certain instances and situations in high school during those years that you're going to be faced with. where you have to decide between doing good, doing the right thing, and doing the wrong thing.
Right.
The 80s were, and I want to get back to the 80s because the 80s here in Brooklyn was a very interesting time because we grew up in the midst of the crack era. And a lot of us, a lot of our family, a lot of our friends fell victim to that era.
Right.
You know, we have a very close relationship with what came with it, you know. And it's not to shun, it's a reality. We knew how to, there was a certain way as a teenager back then in Brooklyn that you had to move just to get to school safely and back.
Mm-hmm.
It was an unspoken code, depending on, it doesn't even matter which neighborhood you grew up in. A lot of us went to school outside of our neighborhoods because, you know, we weren't in our zone schools. So you had to take public transportation. But even as a young teenager, female teenager, I remember we all would walk to our bus stops or to our train stations, and you would not give anyone eye-to-eye contact. We didn't. Because that was like you were risking your life.
Right.
You know, it's that kind of thing. We couldn't look each other in the
That's
eyes. We would look
right there.
dead at our feet just to get home safely. That's what the crack era was.
Right.
And that was every single day.
But what did it create in us? Because I feel like those lessons, because I feel you, and I remember like taking the train and how that shit used to be an entire adventure, right? And you didn't know what would happen when you went down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember how dark and bleak certain train stations were.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, the train station is different, and they still have its issues. But what I'm saying is, certain train stops felt like caverns,
Yes.
like dark. I remember Hoyt and Skimmerhorn was
Oh my
so
gosh.
dark.
Yeah.
Right? There was train stations that were so dark you didn't know what would happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like that time period created a certain resilience in us,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And also a connectivity to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Our generation, right? If you were born anywhere from 69 to 79, I feel like there's a connectivity between us that doesn't exist in other generations because we went through everything together. Especially if you come from New York City. You talk to somebody that was born in the 70s in New York City, and I don't care if you've never met that person before, you can have an hour-long conversation with that person.
Yeah.
Simply on the aesthetic of what was.
Oh, because it was such a different world. And to your point, when you said, what did it create in us, that environment? Well, if that's all that you know, you don't
That's
think
your
there's
baseline.
anything wrong with it. You actually assume as a 15-year-old, 14-year-old that all of America is either like this, or if they're not, it's kind of country. I remember being from Brooklyn and say going to visit family in maybe Long Island or family in New Jersey. I remember it feeling like you left a region of the United States because the radio stations changed in New Jersey. You know, I mean, it was like you were out of the matrix, like
Right.
because it was a different time. We didn't have technology.
Right.
And I remember, for instance, the fade, when the fade first came out, it used to be called the Jersey.
The Jersey, right.
You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Who's going to remember that?
Right.
If you were born in the decade that we were born in, you already know. Like my father was strict. How do we say that? Renee was barred. I was barred. I was barred. Right? Or like words like, man, you remember we used to say this? When somebody was like, lacked integrity, okay, and your crew didn't like that guy, be like, yo, what do you think about Joe Brown? Man, that dude's a duck. Remember? Remember?
Absolutely.
So I take pride in, stating that I'm a native because there are certain things that are in our experience, in our life's experience, that cannot be replicated, cannot be bought with a lease, right? And it has to mean something, just like everyone else who comes here, where you're from still counts. It still means something because it's a grit, no matter where you're from, that you develop because you sharpen your teeth there during those really important years.
But it wasn't only us.
No.
Every neighborhood in Brooklyn and in New York City in the 70s and 80s had that grit. You look back at the Italian communities or the Russian communities or even the Jewish communities, and they were like hard-boiled, salt of the earth people.
Yes.
Like all over.
Wait, they still exist. Can I tell you something? I had a meeting last week with one of the executives at the Yankee Stadium. And this was my first time going to the brand new stadium. I've been to Citi Field because my father's a
Mets fan.
diehard Mets fan, you know that.
Yes.
So walking into the Yankee Stadium, and I know it's not the old one.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute, this is different. Wait a minute, this reminds me of the quintessential native New Yorker. Bar none. And I can't explain it, but I was looking at the faces and I'm like, yeah, these are the people and the descendants of the people that I really grew up with. These are the people that really did eat Italian ices every week.
Yeah.
Got that 2-for-1 egg roll. And before school,
when pizza was 75 cents.
When pizza was 75 cents and they didn't have so much cheese on it. Right?
And the fountain drinks wasn't that sweet.
Right.
The fountain drinks were not that sweet. And we used to eat knishes.
Knishes, facts, with the mustard.
Right.
Gotta have mustard.
And that's, of course, a Jewish cuisine.
Yeah.
New Yorkers, we literally were a melting pot.
Yeah.
Right? And so what the string that connects us all, of course, is the experience, the grit, and sharing in each culture, in everyone's culture. And we didn't think much of it, because there were some good parts to everyone's culture, and we all indulged, all of us,
Absolutely. Did you take some of that with you to Temple? What did you take, being a Brooklyn native, because you, like me, went away to school, right? Now, I went to a HBCU. I went to a school that was probably 30% New Yorkers anyway. So I didn't feel like a fish out of water. Temple was kind of like that, I guess. There's a lot of New Yorkers that went to Temple, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was only, 2.5 hours away.
Right,
So,
not that far.
yeah, and Philadelphia, let's talk about Philadelphia. Philadelphia, compared to New York at the time, really felt like the city of brotherly love.
Did it?
Because although Temple University was located in the heart of the ghetto, like North Philadelphia,
Right.
the people had I just didn't feel like my guard had to be so strong. I didn't have to walk to and from, staring at my feet in fear that if I made eye contact with people that I would be in trouble. I just didn't feel that. And there was a warmth that existed at that time, and it just allowed me to. And then you connect with so many people from all over, all over the country,
Right.
and that helps to shape you in a different way, Yeah, it was Philadelphia was cool. I worked at the Gallery Mall. I worked at Liberty Place. I worked for the Gap. I worked for Foot Locker. That was the first time I met Erica Alexander at Foot Locker.
Right.
But Philly was.
What did you want to be when you grew up at that time?
What was it that Renee thought she would be?
I'm not telling.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Next question.
I am who I
Right.
hoped
To be.
to be.
Wonderful.
I am who I hoped to be.
That's wonderful.
As a matter of fact, I could not have, and then when I say that, I mean the adult that I have become, the daughter that I've become, the friend and the sister that I have become. I could not have dreamt that this would be me at this age. I do feel a sense of inherent freedom. I do feel free at this point in stage in my life, and there really is a joy, you know. I look at the world, however, and I have some concerns, but then again, I remind myself that if you believe in a higher being, that higher being is really in control. And this world has gone through changes from the beginning of time. I'm just here witnessing another shift, you know, another shift in it. And so I try not to panic. I try not to be too afraid. I try to stay as brave with each decision that I make. And I try to keep a sense of wonder and trust in my heart of people. You know, it's something that I work on daily. I'm speaking of the AI movement, you know, and how everything is just changing really quickly. And we're not really ready. It's a conversation that we should all be having.
That isn't being had.
No.
It absolutely needs to be had.
We got to get on that because it's happening. And I think one of the things that I noticed about this new phase for humankind, you know, we've lived through, well, when I say we, humanity survived through so many major occurrences in the world: the Holocaust, slavery, World War I, World War II, and you know, we've all come out of it. But through all of these major world events, COVID, you know, all of these major world events, humans always lean towards human beings and vice versa. We leaned into one another. We relied upon each other. Now, in my adult years, this is the very first time I'm noticing that with this new phase, we're being pulled away from the connectivity, human to human. It's now human to device, everyone. So there's a real separation, and you know, the same divide and conquer, you know, to divide and to conquer, it's like hand in hand. So with caution, I'm watching what's going on. Because once that thing takes over, people then they lose their jobs, right? What's really controlling us? And will we remember how to tap back into each other again? You know, we're having kids, we're bringing kids into a world where they're taught not to initially connect with other humans. It's connecting with the device. And if you take away the creativity from these babies, how will they develop their independent thought? You know, these are the things I think about.
Yo,
all the
Ghostface
time.
says something, and it's a meme that's going around where Ghostface says children need spiritual guidance, right? And so this is crazy coming from Ghost, right? Because Ghost, you know, you see Ghost as this like rigid character, but what he was saying makes perfect sense because he's like, children need a design in their life that they have deference to. Because if not, then you're not going to be able to. If you can't control children, children can't control themselves. So if you can't raise a child under a level of your control where at the very least your child respects your voice and your demands, then that child, when that child becomes an adult, that child will also not be able to control himself or herself because that child will also not respect their own inner voice calling for demands to discipline or to self-regulate, right? And so that when you were talking, that really hit me like that's the truth. The truth of the matter is, so there's a couple things. Really, you know, I was in PR this week and I had some beach time and kind of just was like, you know, looking out in the water and just kind of, you know, thinking, right? And I'm 47. I may have 30 more summers, maybe 35 more summers to go. In the span of existence, our lives are very short.
Yeah.
We take on these worldly
Aspirations.
issues, right?
Right.
Like as if we want to somehow defeat these things.
No, like right. Everyone's trying to find like the mystery to unlock the mystery to.
But really,
like,
we're here for this long,
right.
right?
So what
And
you're
things
saying.
move on, and humans adapt, and we've been here millions of years,
Mhm.
and humans adapt.
Right.
Right? So the thing for me, the thing that drives me is my children. And right, and like how do I impart things into them so that they grow up with that same mentality? So that they think, so that they actually can self-regulate, so that they can say to themselves, oh, I'm wild, let me chill out. You know what I'm saying? Versus children that can't self-regulate and continue to just go off the rails, right? So I think that that's going back to what we were saying. That's one of the things that our generation is good at. We are able to self-regulate. Why? Because a lot of us was latchkey kids. We was in the house at 12, 13 years old. Mom was like, yeah, take the chicken out, put it in the sink, and, you know, hold yourself down until I get home. You know, and we were able to do that.
Yeah.
You know? I want to know from you, when did you realize that you were capable of writing songs? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this, because for me, I've always been a writer, and writing has always come to me in different forms, like love letters, poems, comics. I used to do comics. I can't draw for shit, but I used to like draw these weird characters, and then I used to do comics. I used to do illustration at like 12 years old. Writing has always been like from God into me and out. It's always been how I was able to express myself. For you, you're prolific. You're prolific.
No. Look, stop.
You're prolific.
Okay, wait. To answer your question,
Yes.
4th grade, Mrs. Hanshoe, PS 208, I think she was like a Holocaust survivor. And she.
Wait, hold on a minute. You know who she's talking about?
Yeah, I went to 208.
You had Miss Hanshoe?
I did not have Miss Hanshoe.
Oh, but yeah, we went to the same.
Oh, yeah, I went to the same.
Well, we're just finding that out.
And Bildersee.
And Bildersee.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I taught.
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
You remember the pizza shop on Flatlands Avenue?
Yeah.
Right next to the bagel?
Right. And in the corner store.
Right.
We used to go in there all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
My dad worked at PS 276.
Wow.
Look at Brooklyn.
Look at that. See what I'm saying? See, we gotta be friends now.
Brooklyn. God.
But
So 4th grade.
4th grade, shout out to PS 208. 4th grade, Miss Hanshoe was into poetry.
Right.
So she assigned us, poetry homework like every week. And I was in the top classes in those schools. So all the kids, we were very competitive and everybody wanted to be the best. Everyone was like, oh, I know it. Back then, we took pride in education. And so I really excelled that year. But in the 5th grade, I was taken out of that school and I was sent to 276 because my father taught there. So it was a completely different environment. I was the only black girl in the class.
Right.
And Rodney Thigpen was the only black boy in the class. And then my father was a black teacher in the school. So I went from just 2 different environments abruptly. So I stopped writing poetry, but I got enough from 208 to carry me through. So after 208, went to Bildersee. After Bildersee, went to Midwood. Now, Midwood High School. I got into Midwood when I was 14 in the Med-Sci program, right? And Mr. Spicer, who was my chorus teacher, he needed an accompanist. And I told him I could play the piano, which for him was a rarity. It was just like me and maybe Laverne Barnes, another guy that also went to Midwood High School. We could play. So I took on that responsibility, and that's how I got into the music program at Midwood High School as an accompanist for the choirs and the choruses.
So you would play piano for the choir?
Yeah, and I was the chorus, like mixed chorus, and it was magical chorus, and then I joined the gospel choir, and that was an after-school program. So I just kept myself busy in a lot of extracurricular activities at the time, on top of the Med-Sci curriculum, but it kept me out of trouble.
Right.
Number one. Number two, that was kind of where I really fell in love with music. The gospel choir was pivotal because this was the first time in my life that I was hearing these gospel tunes that had like colors of jazz. Remember, I'm coming from a Jamaican household, right? So the gospel was not, that wasn't what we were raised on,
Right.
right? It was more from a classical perspective, right?
Right.
So that opened my ears to different chords. And so as I at this time I could read and I was also playing by ear.
Right.
And the gospel choir was invited to sing for Cissy Houston at a function, Whitney Houston's mom. And that was the first time I wrote a song, taught it to the gospel choir, and we performed it for Cissy Houston. It was called Holy Spirit. So I trademarked it and
At that age, you
Copyright.
trademarked it.
yeah, copyrighted and everything. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Of course.
She's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Copyrighted it, and I still have paperwork, and I still have a lot of the original recordings.
Does any other choir do a different rendition of Holy Spirit?
I didn't release it. So the only people that actually know Holy Spirit are the people that sang for
That's same.
Midwest Gospel Choir.
Right. Okay.
Remember, this is back in the 80s. Music was a functional tool in our lives. We weren't really writing it or singing it or performing it to get on
Right.
to
It
an
wasn't
industry.
a YouTube thing, right?
No, it was just our life. Just like if you play football or basketball, you know, some girls were boosters
Right.
and cheerleaders,
Right.
twirlers. But that's what I did.
Right. I want to know kind of how you moved in the industry, right? I don't necessarily want to talk about Zhane, but what I want to talk about is Renee in the industry, right? And once Renee became kind of settled in her purpose, how was that in action, right? And the reason why I'm asking that is because, like, so you were, like, you would be in spots, right? And you were like, you know, even as in the 90s, you were like a beacon almost, right? Like you were in the One More Chance video, right? And you'd be in these things and you would be, like, you were industry almost, but that's not your character. Like, that's not who you are, right?
Hold on. I gotta interject. This like breaking news here.
What?
You were in Corman Suites at Temple with my brother Malik
Oh!
and Byron
Malik.
Kirkland.
Kelly.
Oh, Kelly.
Wow. I know Malik. What's up? Is he watching?
Yeah, that's my brother.
That's her brother.
That's my
Wait,
brother.
can I
He's my
say hi to
business
him?
partner. That's
Right
my
there.
business partner. Well, he's on text. He's
Right.
like,
Oh, well, okay.
after,
So
when we finish, yeah, well, I'll call
So,
him. But that's
Byron
crazy.
Wiley-
What a
What?
no, but listen, Byron Wiley, literally, that was like my brother and his cousin. I knew his family.
Yeah, he was like, she's family. He's like, is that Renee? She's family.
Oh, Malik?
Hi,
That's yeah.
I'm looking at your face and I'm trying to
I
see
love
Malik
it.
in your
I
face.
love it. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
No,
I
this
love
is
it.
like literally we lived. Well, the way Corman Suites was set up, it was like.
Oh, Liz is watching his wife.
Oh, hi, Liz.
So she's probably showing it to him.
Right.
Hi, Malik.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we lived together. Like we were, you know how it is. We're just
Yeah.
family. You're wondering how did I move? Malik is her brother.
Right.
I moved the way Malik moves.
Right.
I always felt most comfortable with the people that had their feet on the ground. To this day, that's what I just love. That's what inspires me. That's what informs my personality, my spirit. I'm relaxed. That's where I feel the most relaxed, when I'm just around people whose feet are on the ground. I love blue collar workers. I love, the store owners. I love the people that we need to just make life happen. These are the people that I befriend. I love smart people. I love people who are just trying to figure it out, who don't require me to be anything more than who I am right in front of you at any given moment. I just want to continue to live my life with effortless ease.
Right.
That's me. And less is more for me.
Right.
So all my career, all my life, I've always lived, beneath my means.
Beneath your means.
Just because it's comfortable. It just feels good here. The air is just, you can just breathe.
Right.
I never felt the need to be famous or, that's not, I was a shy kid. I had a creative mind, did well in school, had great family, and very still very close with them, and the friends that I have and the friends that I choose, in my heart live like family to me. So if we were away and I ran into you in Phoenix, that's it. It's us. We rolling.
Right. We up. What's good?
That's it.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
rolling. I'm protective of you. You're
Right.
protective of me.
Right.
No one's here. No one's there. And that's just the way, especially coming from the communities we come from.
Right.
That's how our lives were. Do you remember back then? I was thinking about this today.
What?
You remember when we were little? Okay. Let's say you're in the 5th grade. All right. And June has come. You remember the last day of school.
Okay.
You may or may not be nervous to come home with the report card because your parents your mom's gonna
Nah, I was
know.
always a star. I never was nervous.
Oh, well, I was nervous because I always did well, but it was never good enough. Like you had a 98. Where's that 100? You see, when I was a little boy and we would go to school, we never have shoes for wear on foot, and you come home with a 98. Like that's how it was raised.
Right.
Because guess what? A lot of my cousins were really, really bright.
Right.
But getting back to the point. So it's June and you're in the 5th grade, you're promoted to the 6th grade, and you have a block association, and you and your friends on the block are wondering, yo, what date is the black party?
Right.
We used to call block parties the black party. We used to say black party. Why did we mispronounce block party? Because we were kids.
Right.
And everyone around us was black at this party, but every year we would look forward to it.
Yeah.
That's where we first heard hip hop.
We've talked about this over the breadth of this project that we're doing. Time and again, we go back to the block party because for a lot of children, that was the first connectivity to the culture
Of hip hop. Yes.
It was the block party.
Absolutely. And with that came, not only did it come to music, but everyone would bring out a dish.
Right.
Everybody
The
on the
food.
block. There'd
Right.
be a table in
Right.
front of each home, or maybe a long table going down the block. We'd wash the block down with the hose first thing in the morning. And then the sanitation department would scrub it down. And then we hang the streamers, right? All of that was hip hop.
Yeah.
The collard greens,
Yeah.
the potato salad, the fried chicken.
All that.
But if you were Jamaican, it'd be curry goods, right? Curry chicken. And the hula hoops, the bikes.
The bikes,
roller
riding the
skates,
bike in the street was everything.
Big wheels,
Yeah.
skelly, double dutch. I was on the double dutch team. All of that was hip hop. Because the music, like I said, was more functional. It was a function of our lives. It's what we did to unwind. It wasn't, back then we weren't in a mind frame of, oh gosh, I gotta be here because I gotta get on. There wasn't that veil of anticipation. It was just like, gosh, I'm sinking into this sound. Like we could hear Rapper's Delight, but then you still hear, at that same block party, Two Hearts Are Always Better by Stephanie Mills and Teddy Pendergrass. Back to back, I'll Do Anything for You.
Right.
Back to back with Slick Rick. Back to back, it was all coexisting in the same setting
Right.
with every single generation together as like a one experience.
And I've talked about that before in this idea, like hip hop in Brooklyn was different than hip hop other places because hip hop culture in Brooklyn was very much intertwined with Caribbean culture, right? So like you would have block parties where you would hear the Shalimar and you would hear the El DeBarge and you would hear Rappers Delight, you would hear Run DMC, but then you would hear
heritage.
Right, and you would hear Sister Nancy, and you would hear Shabba Ranks, and you would hear Cutty Ranks. And it was all a thing. Like at that age, at 9, 10 years old, you're not delineating it. You're not saying, oh, well, this is dancehall, this is hip hop. You don't know that at 10. What you know is that this is a vibe, and the amalgamation of that vibe is what the culture is. You know what I'm saying? I had a dude that lived next door to me, Donovan. Rest in peace, Donovan. He passed away some time ago. His father was a selector, Max. I would go to Donovan's house and listen to Papa Michigan and Little John, Super Cat, Cabin Stabbing. I'm American. I'm not from Caribbean descent.
But you know, the thing is,
But that's Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn.
Right.
Right? So Brooklyn, that was part of our curriculum. Part of our hip hop curriculum was dancehall. Right? And not enough, I think, is linked to that because at this moment, hip hop is global, right? And a lot of global people didn't have that experience. But it's very germane to Brooklyn, right? Going to parties in East Flatbush, in Crown Heights. You was listening to dancehall.
Oh yeah.
There was it was rap, it was hip hop, but it was also dancehall.
Yeah.
Right? You said you got a question, Kai?
Yeah, now I'm listening to a Barris song in my head.
Yeah, it was Barris. It was Barrington Levy, right? And that was hip hop.
It was like Barrington, but Rashad is online. What's up, Rashad?
Smith?
Yes, Rashad Smith.
Yeah, we gotta get him, Rashad. We gotta get him.
Let's go,
I
Rashad.
hope you're still
Rashad
on. You hear
Smith,
this,
so
right,
Rashad is another brother. Like, I was on the phone all day yesterday, but he's another brother, and see, we're all connected.
Yes.
He's saying
we're not being phony. Like we
No,
really
we're
are
connected.
one.
we're really connected because this is my other brother. I have 2 older brothers. He's my other brother. They grew up. They were best friends. And so I've known him since I was young.
Yeah.
And I just there's so many connections.
Baseball.
But he was
This is
like,
real.
ask her about the song we did together. Take it over.
Okay, so Rashad Smith is one of the industry's most important producers, particularly for that era, because he was the architect behind the beat for Wuha.
Mhm.
You know, he did Jingle and Baby.
Mhm.
I mean, they did the One More Chance remix. That's Rashad.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always had a very close relationship with producers. You know, we're going to talk about that song in a second, but getting back to my relationship to hip hop in the game, as a writer, I collaborated with producers. That's how we met. I was collaborating with a producer, right? Just like rappers would collaborate with producers, they'd give me beat tapes.
Right.
Hey Mr. DJ was just a beat tape.
Right.
Sending My Love was just a beat
I
tape.
love that song.
EPMD.
I told you over and over.
Voodoo. That's all I had. Voodoo. Voodoo. KG
You wrote
was
Sending
like,
My Love?
yeah, on the bus on the way to Corman Suites.
Oh, wow.
Do you understand
That was for my first love.
how
And he lived in Trenton and I lived, at the time, I was at Corman Suites.
So wait a minute, that was for a guy, it wasn't for me?
No, it was my first love. And we're still friends to this day.
Yeah,
No.
my heart
Wait.
right to you I give.
Tia said that was the soundtrack to her freshman year at Howard.
I
I'm
literally
telling
wrote
you.
that on a bus.
Yo,
that
Oh my
her
God,
I would
first
listen
album.
to that song.
Yeah.
I bought the album. I would listen to that song constantly. And I had the tape and I would rewind it and play it again. And rewind it and play it again. And that's
Oh, Byron is on here too.
What's
shout
up,
out to Byron. Oh, we
Byron?
He's live from the Netherlands.
I know he's in
Oh,
Holland.
yeah.
What's up, Byron?
This is a global thing.
Yes,
Yeah, Byron, he drove the Volkswagen. And Byron was a sneakerhead. Your brother could tell you, Byron had all the dope sneakers. And he was really into Ice Cube at the time. And anyway, we'd always go to Byron's house. Anyway,
sorry.
So you wrote Sending My Love
I wrote
She was
all the
writing.
hits.
No, I'm saying for the guy in Trenton.
So many songs was. No, he wasn't the guy in Trenton. He was my boyfriend.
Right. Okay.
And he was my first love.
Okay.
So
I
it was
love
my
you too,
first
'cause
love,
I
and that
love
was my
song.
first heartache and everything. So a lot of those songs in that first album were about that relationship. Love Me Today, Love Me Today, Sweet Taste of Love, Sending My Love,
Right.
Changes. All these songs were about one person.
Do you ever ponder the accomplishment of a song that you've written? Like you perform all over the world. I'm sure people come to you and say, "Listen, Renee, this song that you wrote changed my life. It affected my life." I'm telling you, Sending My Love. I used to tell you that all the time. Once in a while, I would just post it on IG and tag you. Like, that song affected my life. Like, how I view love is what I'm saying. Do people, like, do you ever ponder that level of accomplishment in your pen game?
You know what it is? I give it all to God because He gave this to me. It came so freely.
Straight, I see.
So, like, freely. It just flew right out, right? You know, it's like,
it's here.
and then you know when it's done.
Right.
You know when it's completed from the beginning to the end. And so when I say I was on a bus, I remember it was the golden time of day again. And I remember looking out the window and I'm listening to the beat tape and I was thinking about him and I was thinking about prose, right? Miss Hanshaw taught me that. 4th grade. So I applied what a rapper would apply to a beat. I heard this
because
beat.
It was the EPMD joint.
Yeah, it was just the EPMD joint.
Right.
I wasn't given anything.
I see that.
But I had to bring life, more life to this beat. And I remember being intentional. I said, it has to be sweet. It has to be feminine. It has to counter, because balance, I'm Libra, I need balance. It has to counter the veracity of this hard, rhythmic, repetitive sound. I've got to sort of bring the id to the ego,
right? The
yin to that yang. That's why I tell you it's so important for us to stay connected as men and women, you know, because it's balance, right? And so the beat appealed to the man in you, and then the words appeal to women as well. But men also require and yearn for the sweetness.
Yeah.
Right? You got to pour into it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I treat that song. And for instance, I remember being in Canada. I was performing for Russell Peters as a comedian.
Yes, I know Russell Peters.
And I was on the bill with EPMD, Big Daddy Kane, me, Flavor Flav, and so on. And I remember doing Sending My Love. And Russell Peters' wife was there. And he was at the side of the stage and he started to cry. Yeah. Because I think that was the song that sort of sealed their relationship. Yeah. It was a soundtrack to their relationship. There's something about Sending My Love. Yeah. I get licensed a lot for like many songs throughout the years because I kept my publishing and made sure, excuse me, at that point, kept my publishing day one because I always knew that this was going to be the legacy, right? Right. Like, whether or not I have kids, this is going to be the legacy. So, protect it. But to this day, it's been, 30 years now? And Sending My Love, out of all the songs in my catalog, is the one that, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Every year, someone else is asking for permission to use it. And I always
because sonically, it's beautiful. But also the words. Like, if I could mail my heart to you, right? I would. I would pack it up, seal it tight, and send it overnight. So as a man, what I'm saying is, from a masculine standpoint, what more do you want out of a woman than that? Than her feeling like, if I could mail my heart to you, I would.
That's how in love.
Yeah,
when I fall in love,
like that's the shit. Like that's it. And so being a lover, like I'm a lover. We was just talking about this. I'm a lover by nature, and so that spoke to me in a way like that's what I want.
So that's how you feel. That's how you felt in your relationship at the time.
That's how I feel in every relationship. Every time.
So you always fall deep. When you fall in love, you fall that deep.
What I'm saying is, I don't have relationships like that are deep, but all of my significant relationships are that deep. Absolutely. Why have a significant relationship and not be deep? Right. My marriage, all of my significant relationships, that album, that record speaks to the feeling that I was searching for.
It's so crazy because when I think about it, I never thought you know, everything in life for me is an experiment. I never even thought people would like get it, right? And you know, just get this whole thing, right? But we came out of a time where we were informed by love songs. We were informed by Jeffrey Osborne.
Yeah, we were definitely Motown children.
You know what song that I
R&B
listen to today that just made me almost want to cry? You need to pull up. All of you at home need to pull up. If you have Alexa or Spotify, take some time. Pull up Still by Lionel Richie, the Commodore Lionel Richie. And just listen
That's
to
a beautiful song.
Lady.
Yeah.
I've
Lady
been
is
thinking
beautiful.
about your shining armor. He says, I do love you still. You need to listen to these words. These are the words we were playing on the streets during the crack era, during the 70s. This is what we were programmed by these sentiments. This is how men and women used to talk to one another. So writing Sending My Love at that time wasn't a far stretch because I was informed by.
That was the language.
That was the language.
There's a Tina Marie song like that, and I have to remember the name.
Right.
Where she talks about like, you know, some like outer worldly, like really intense stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, this is what we were raised on.
We come
like
out
you
of
said.
that.
We
Like,
come
we
out
come
of
out of
these
that
like really
ideal
intense,
of
Yeah.
love
Mhm.
and the magnificence of it,
Even
Yeah.
if it wasn't perfect.
even if it wasn't perfect.
Because we knew it enough.
Casanova Brown.
Yes.
Rashad is saying Casanova Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I also remember how much we respected I remember when we were kids, we'd always dream about being an adult. Like, adults and children were not peers,
Not at all.
right? We didn't wear the same type of clothing.
Not
We didn't
at
go
all.
to the same stores. There was a line of demarcation that was clear.
Right.
And everyone held their corner until it was time to graduate to the next stage of life.
Mhm.
So you, as a child, you thought about, man, I wonder what I'm going to look like when I'm a grown-up. Or I wonder what car I'm going to drive when I'm a grown-up.
Right.
I wonder where I'm going to live when I'm a grown-up. You know, you had these dreams. And so when I was writing that particular song, I always thought to myself, well, listen, I'm not going to try to be hip. It's 1990. I'm just going to try to stay classic. I like classic. Let's stay classic. So mentally, I just wrote it like I was an adult. Even though I was an adult, but you know, a more experienced adult, and just approached the beat with that mindset on the bus. And I came home and I told my brother, I said, Tony, listen to this. What do you think about it?
What did Tony say?
Tony he's a man of very few words.
You're right. Just like,
And he mumbled, he said,
yeah.
yeah man, it good.
So what about the song with Rashad? You said
Okay, so take it over. So Rashad is also a Brooklynite. He's a native New Yorker, and oftentimes we talk about our lives. And he also has a reverence to not only classic music, but music of various genres. Like he loves all kinds of music. We grew up in the same neighborhood, although we didn't know each other. But we met each other later and connected. But Rashad and I, this was when he was living in Atlanta in quite a few years back. Rashad came to me with a track. And this track is, ask him how much can I say?
Rashad, you still there? She wants to know how much can she say?
How much can she say, Rashad?
Well, about the track.
Right.
Because
About the
it's
track.
coming out. We're actually putting it out. Finally. It's been so many years. But
You guys are putting it out now.
yeah, it's going to be put out more than likely independently with a lot of heavy hitters. Going to be an EP. Only because we've sat on this song for so many years, but it's tight. And it's
He
a spin-off.
said
He said yes.
TLK. Talk.
Okay, so basically it's a D-Train sample, and he said, just do what you do. So I went in, and I became the disco queen again, and it's very, it's very high energy, and it's the type of song that you probably would have heard on the radio 1986.
Okay, right.
Right
That
before the
song was
New
wild.
Jack.
I'm mad hype.
Right.
I'm mad hype.
Right.
That's
And the
amazing.
first song, the first line of the song, Rashad is an amazing producer, so you already know that when it comes in, it's gonna put you in the mind of the Tumbling Dice records, where you hear the tumbling dice,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then the beat hits, dum, 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 dum. And I'm literally like whisper singing throughout the song like a vixen,
Oh.
like I'm the Mary Jane girl.
Right.
Oh my gosh! Wait till you guys hear this record. It's so crazy.
When is it coming out? I'm excited.
As soon as we can finalize everything, it'll be out this year.
That's awesome.
We talked about it yesterday at length.
It's a killer
Right.
song.
It's so bad.
That's all.
There's so many songs that he's sitting on that I'm sitting on.
Rashad, please, brother,
Come through.
Come through, please.
Yeah.
I did speak to him. He's working out his schedule.
Let's work out the schedule.
Yeah.
So I can
Busy,
sit here,
busy.
man. I can't wait to build with you.
You got to get Chip here too.
Chip Fool. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Get
I was
Chip
thinking about
here.
reaching out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout to Chip.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
And get Pete here.
Yeah. Pew.
Rock.
Can you help with that?
Yeah, of course. We're all family.
Yeah, I love Pete Rock.
Yeah.
I love Pete Rock. I want to talk to you about something before we go, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is something I think you and I, when we were texting, we had kind of talked about it, but I want to talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the De La event.
Mm.
So you talk about, what?
We were at Dave Chappelle together.
Yeah,
We were at the De La
yeah.
together. Do you realize there are monumental,
Yeah, two monumental, together.
never before, never again experiences?
Yeah. But you talk about crying, right? You talk about tears. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm be honest with y'all too. That morning, as soon as I could stream they shit, like
Yeah.
that morning I streamed all they shit.
Yeah.
And I was like laying in bed and just realizing that I hadn't gotten an opportunity to listen to this part of me in this way in a long time, if that makes sense. Because De La was a part of me. De La, at 13, 14 years old, spoke to me in a way that no other hip-hop was speaking to me at the time.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, like I run races, I'm listening to music all the time, and I was never able to stream De La Soul is Dead. I was never able to stream 3 Feet High and Rising.
I think that's beautiful. You want to know why?
Why?
Remember when I was telling you, growing up, as kids in my house, we didn't have everything that we wanted when we wanted, but we had what we needed.
Right.
When we needed it. We live in a world where everything is so easily accessible, oversaturated.
Yes.
It's really too much.
It is.
It's sort of refreshing to have a little bit of restraint so that you really can embrace and enjoy the moment
Yes.
before, the moment that brought you back to a time before life got you jaded.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about holding something back to the right time.
Right.
The right time. Like I told you, Rashad has songs he's sitting on. Bangers. I have songs I'm sitting on that are greater than songs that I've ever done. My father told me, he said, Renee, you haven't even done your best work in life yet.
Right.
And I believe that.
Right.
But there's some stuff I'm holding, like I'm sitting on it.
Right.
Part of me is like, man, should I put out? I mean, it's so saturated.
Yes.
This
Right.
world is so saturated. What? They don't need a whole another song.
Yes, we do.
Why?
But
There's
it's
so
because
much
of that
music.
thing. No, but it's because of that thing that I'm telling you. Like listening to it was like it satiated something in me that I didn't know needed to be satiated because I'm so much in 2023 world. Right?
Yeah.
So it spoke to a different part of me.
That's still in you.
That's still in me. And the realization that it's still in me,
How did it make you feel?
it made me feel vulnerable as fuck. Like I was like, oh shit.
What do you mean?
Like it made me feel like full in a place that so if your body's a bunch of glasses, cups, right? It filled a cup that I didn't realize was in me. If that makes sense.
But he said it
An
spoke
empty
to
cup.
some. It spoke to a part of you.
Right, but I had forgotten that
Oh, you
person.
forgot
Of
about
course
him.
I did. I had forgotten that kid. That used to sit up in the living room by myself, buy the records. Millie pulled a pistol on Santa. Like
Yeah.
that joint was an amazing
Yeah.
composition.
Yeah.
Plug tuning,
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
This is a recording.
Yeah.
Nah.
See, this is my problem.
Nah.
This is my problem. Like, I hear what you're saying, but that person that you're talking about,
Right.
that you forgot, she's always. I wake up to her.
Right.
That's where Alexa comes in.
See, and I'm gonna tell you,
Play Diana Ross.
I can't say that I totally forgot that child,
Don't
because that
forget.
child made me who I am.
Mm.
But you go through so many iterations of self
Yeah.
in this life.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people don't really discuss enough. We go through a bunch of iterations of ourselves. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago,
Right.
right? I'm not going to be the same person 2 years from now.
No.
And so in the complex layering of self, I had kind of forgotten that kid.
Yeah.
And you know, as
I'll remind you.
yeah, you
I
sure
will text you, and every now and then I will bring something up to take you right back to that kid. You want to
and
know
that
why?
did.
You have to. I believe part of the joy of life is holding on to the magic of life, so that as when life beats you down, right?
Right.
You don't forget that it's not all bad.
Right.
You gotta hold on.
Right.
You gotta hold on.
Right. And music does that, right? And
Yeah.
yes, I could play Elder Barge, I could play Michael Jackson, I could play Shalimar, I could play, you know, Little Sean, right? Don Perignon. I could play these joints and they bring me back to a certain time. But that chamber, I hadn't touched.
Right. Well, De La is a special.
So I was there that night. We were there that night, right? Jay, was you with us?
No.
So me and Kyle was there. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry.
No, I feel like he was like at.
Yeah,
He was at a
something.
play or something. He
Right,
was
at a play Hamilton or something,
Yeah,
doing
he
some
was
culture.
like, right.
But
We was
that
wilding out.
night-
He was
that night, being in that room, first off, it was sort of like, and I said this in a post, it was like if you went to hip hop heaven, right? Everybody that was in that room would be there. Like if you told me, okay, Marlon, like you go to Nirvana in hip hop, right, in the culture, who would be in that room? Who would be in that space? And everybody that was there at, what was that, Webster Hall, was pretty much in that space. But then to see, and the other thing was Dave passed away. And so you have that on your heart, like, damn, bro, you didn't get a chance to have us celebrate you like this. Like, we never got an opportunity to really celebrate De La in that way. And I took full advantage of it. We was wilding. We was
took
in there.
full
Like,
advantage
we
of it.
took
Full-
full
Shout out to
advantage,
Jamaica
singing
again.
all the
Maybe
songs.
we
Shout out
should
to
get her
Jamaica.
on
We
the
need
show.
to get Jamaica on the
Because
show.
I feel like she needs to
Because
talk
Jamaica
about
was
the
the whole
building
plug.
of that.
Because
she
I
did
almost
that.
died when I went to the site and I couldn't get. Yo,
You got it through Stretch though.
I got it through Stretch. That was
Yeah,
Stretch
so
Armstrong.
shout out
Yeah,
to Stretch,
I got Stretch.
yeah.
Stretch blessed me.
Yeah.
I love Stretch Armstrong. But all of that is what I'm saying, Renee. Like, this is the culture that we grew up in as kids. And to get an opportunity to celebrate De La in that moment, in that way, we're never going to have an opportunity like that again. That was a one of one.
Yeah, it was a beautiful night. I walked in the door with Spencer, right, and Naughty, so KG and Vinny,
Right.
myself.
Yes.
We walked in, so I literally walked into the music game with this family,
Right.
with KG,
Right.
right, and then I saw Shakem, and then I saw Wyclef, and this is just like in the vestibule.
This is before you even get anywhere.
This is
That's
just
what
in
I'm
the vestibule.
This is what I'm saying.
In comes Buster, and in comes Lynn Scott, in comes Dante Ross, and who signed so many people on Tom McWayne. In comes so many people that you haven't seen in many years.
Right.
And in that moment, I realized that although I'm known for R&B, but I really, I've been aligned with hip hop for all my career.
Yes.
Renee Neufville.
Yes.
I have personal relationships with all of these people to this day. I know their kids, I know their wives. Paz is the one who called me like a week or two before. He's like, Renee, I have to make sure you're there. Then I'm realizing, but I'm on the Stakes is High record.
Right.
So I should be there, right? And everyone that came knew that they had to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like they just knew that we had to pay homage to Dave. It was like a bittersweet moment. Gone too soon. Pay homage to De La. They're great friends. They're loyal brothers. They had a vision. They stuck to their vision. You gotta respect them. You gotta respect that. And it shows by the people that came out for them. You know, Rashad was there, and I remember at the very end of the celebration, everyone was on stage, and I was downstairs in the vestibule watching the show from the teleprompter, the TV screen, and he came to me and he said, Renee, you gotta be on that stage. And I'm like, no, it's okay, Rashad. I'm comfortable. I can watch it from here. I'm respecting the native tongue. You know, I've been coming with native tongue. I'm thinking to myself, man, no, there's hip hop. I've learned, even like through jazz, working with Warhawk, it's really important to respect people's stages and their moments, you know, and you support them from here. You're showing them love, but you're supporting it. Though he said, no, Renee, you belong there. And I'm like, oh, it's okay, Rashad. He's like, no, I'm taking you. He took my hand, he dragged me up the stairs. Rebecca Foster got me on the stage. There was about 100 people literally on that stage. Latifah was stage right. She saw me at the peripheral of her vision and she said, Renee, you better get this microphone and you better go to center stage. Go up front. So I said, okay. And I walked on stage and then I'm seeing Kid Capri. And as I'm walking, the bright lights are on the stage. Everyone's in a moment. The crowd, the lights are on the crowd. The balloons have fallen. And I see Kid Capri, Renee. And I see Spinner and I see Rashad. And everyone's like, you know, sort of embracing me even being there when I was trying my best to just respect the moment. I said, well, wait, Renee, they're embracing you because you're part of this thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are part of the fabric of hip hop. Yeah. It's not just about the vigga and the mic. You know, it's the supporting hook, chorus to the lyric.
Absolutely.
It's the Mary to the Method Man. Right. It's the Erykah Badu to the comedy.
But even bigger than
it's
that,
to, you know, it's all of.
It's the person that was the enthusiast that went to the parties, that was at SO and at the Tunnel and at Flamingo and at Club New York,
all of it,
and at Mars 2112. Right? It's the entire tapestry, and that's how I felt. I felt like, listen, God don't make no mistakes. Everybody that was in that space
belonged in there.
In that moment. Belonged in that space.
And
in that moment.
Not only that, there were more people that were not in that space that also belonged in that moment.
Right.
You know, it's all of us. Right. It's the IOU dancers. It's the IBM dancers. It's so many people that make up this life.
Right.
You know, it's ongoing.
We don't have a arena big enough for the entire tapestry of the culture.
No, it's such a special time though that it's being celebrated in this moment while we can witness this. And it's always been legitimate, but you know, years like this legitimize. It's a milestone.
Have you been called for Hip Hop 50 events? Like, are they calling them?
Yeah, actually they are, and it's funny because you know, like I'm doing something with Grand Poobah in a few weeks. But these are people that I'm always performing with. Yeah. I'm always performing. I've performed on stages with Slick Rick for his birthday party. I've always been getting calls because they actually see me as hip hop. I told Tariq.
But you are. I see you the same way.
I never looked at it that way, but now I know. You know, I told Tariq that night and Q-Tip that night. Even KG, I said, right.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be here even though I don't have bars. I do have bars.
Definitely have bars.
You got bars.
No, I mean, I do have a rap song.
Oh, you do? You need a second? I don't say it no more.
I'm gonna do it now.
I want to sing
But-
the hook.
but
I want to sing the
It's
hook.
definitely no. It's something I wrote a long time ago. But you know, everybody has that one rap song. And, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely, because that's the culture we came from. Everybody wrote around.
Yeah.
What we got in terms of questions?
There was no question. There's a lot of comments.
Hi
Somebody-
everybody.
Yes, yeah.
Hey everybody.
Somebody used to dance for the IBM. Oh, one sexy New Yorker danced for the IBM dancers.
Oh, okay. So you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
right?
yeah. So yeah, there's mad.
Yeah,
I've been talking back and forth.
and we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
Right, because we tried. Right,
Yes.
we are akin, and we could talk for hours. But I think the main thing, Renee,
Do you remember Tribe Vibe?
was trying.
That was. Does anybody in the audience remember Tribe Vibe? If you're from Philly or DC, it was a T-shirt line called
No.
Tribe Vibe. Does anybody remember? I was also hip hop.
That was hip hop.
You know, these are like the unspoken
It
heroes.
sounds
Yeah.
familiar. for some
Yeah,
reason.
no, there's so many.
Yeah, I think that we don't like in this. So, like
She's
I said,
hip hop because of her own dedication to hip hop. Nobody can make you hip hop.
right, and it wasn't. It's not just the music.
That
It's
was a
like
shot.
I said. I've said this many times. Dancehall is part of hip hop culture. If you grew up in Brooklyn in the '80s and '90s, then you dealt with dancehall and you hip hop. Low Lives, for example, very Caribbean-based organization,
Yeah.
right? But really speaks to hip hop, right?
Yeah.
But in the same way, R&B and Zhane also was hip hop.
Yeah.
Your first single was "Hey Mr. DJ."
Well, that was a dedication to the block party.
Right. Okay.
I was thinking about 58th Street between Till and Snyder when I
Right.
wrote that. I wrote that in 30 minutes
Right.
on the floor
Right.
in my dorm room. I remember. And I was like, I gotta pay homage to my favorite decade. I just wanted to sound like a throwback,
Mhm.
you know? And so even in that time, it sounded like a throwback. It sounded classic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was an homage to KG, all the DJs.
But that's my point. Is even in
I
your
respect.
chamber of genre, you were using your genre to reflect on
Yeah.
your connection to hip hop.
Because at the end of the day, the DJ is the one that makes the party happen.
Facts.
Period. That's it.
Fact.
You know, just like when you go to someone's house, you got to pay homage to the cook, whoever cooked the food,
Right.
whoever's curating the sound. You know, we can't do it alone. And yeah,
I
stand
just-
on that.
I just really want to thank you because I don't think you get, and we didn't even get into what you've been doing over the last 5 years, and we didn't even get into your work overseas and your connection to Roy Hargrove and
RH Factor.
yeah, like we didn't even get into that. Like you are so talented and so accomplished, but so 10 toes down. And so, just as you say, you always live beneath your means. You also live beneath the edifice of what you've built as a career. Renee, you got
There's
a
so much
30-year career.
But there's more. There's more to come.
Okay,
I'm shooting
I
a
get it.
sitcom
I got it.
in like
You're shooting a sitcom?
yeah, in a month. I did 3 movies last year. So it's interesting. I got offered my first short film as a lead last year. It's quite interesting. Once I stepped in front of the camera, I realized that at this age in my life, I'm embarking on what I probably should have been doing with my career
Right.
because it was so natural and so freeing. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to put forth a solid effort and get some roles. And look, Viola Davis, she didn't stop, so why should I, right? So I've actually been very fortunate in just getting roles, and my first acting teacher, my acting coach was Victor Williams, and he gave me a solid foundation, and I'm hoping to, just do some more and expand some more. I'm really inspired. You just kind of want to see how far you can stretch yourself, how much you can do
Yes.
in this life that we have.
Yes.
So,
And that's a fundamental precept of having a successful life is this idea of stretching yourself past whatever your norms are, right? And doing more and seeing where you can kind of, that's the thing with marathon running. It's sort of like, you're here, can you get there?
look at what hip hop has done. So you talk about marathons, right? It wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon.
Right.
But now you have artists like Busta Rhymes performing in Carnegie Hall.
Yes.
My very first time performing in Carnegie Hall, you know who brought me onto that stage? It was Mos Def. I performed with Mos Def and Gil Scott-Heron before he passed away, and me. And we did Sweet Dreams. We did a rendition of Sweet Dreams. And I remember Mos Def at the time, he styled me. He gave me my blazer, he gave me my shirt, and he gave me my fedora hat. And we did the thing. And Robert Glasper and Chris Davis was involved, and Derek Hodge. But this was Carnegie Hall, and hip hop took me there. I got the call, and I was just like, what? This was before Instagram. Right? So you got to think about, when you talk about ceilings, you talk about hip hop turning 50. Yeah, but 50 is just the first milestone.
Right. It'll be 100.
Let's see what happens by the next, the next 25 years from now, where it's going to be.
Do you like young artists now? Do you have any young artists that you listen to?
Yeah, I do.
Who?
Don't play with it. Don't play with it. Don't play with it. And
shout out to Lola, bro.
You thought I was feeling you?
You thought I was feeling you?
Because it's the Bronx, you know. Shout out to the Bronx. Shout out to Brooklyn. She's got so much energy. She's like this big, Lola.
Right.
I listen to a lot of it. In some of this trap music, there is I don't know, for the production. I know it's very simplified. But so, like, Sending My Love was a very simple beat too, right? There's a lot of space in it. And every generation has their own language. They have their music. So I let the generation have their thing. And I try to understand. I try to say, well, who knows? Like, maybe I'll get one of those little microphones and see what that does to my voice. Maybe I'll sing Sending My Love with that voice that bends.
Right.
Just to see what it would sound like. Just to, keep that wonder.
Right.
And treat it responsibly.
Right.
And then show them another way.
Right.
Use their tools to show them another way that they can do it. So they have options.
Yeah. See, the connectivity is our responsibility and not theirs.
Yeah.
So as elders, we have to be considerate.
Yeah.
We have to be empathetic.
Yeah.
But we also have to continue to guide.
And be responsible. Right. That's all you got to do. They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out, just like we figured it out.
Yeah.
Kai, what's up? This was good.
Yeah, no, it was very good. Oh, wait.
I don't think I've smiled.
Is it my time?
I think it may be your time. I mean, do we have questions? Do you have a reason
There's
to not
no
be behind the
questions. Just like a lot of comments.
How you feel about it?
Love to hear this.
Yeah.
Renee, the actor.
Yeah, we're
another
basically
women
done.
expressing artistry.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
It's
Bola, I wanted to mention, Bola went to Temple too.
Bola went to Temple. Tech
Bola
92,
went
she
to Temple. Oh, wait, and Byron is like, she talked me into going to Jazzy Jeff's studio. She's definitely hip hop.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Renee, you're hip hop.
What do you mean, Byron? What up, Byron?
Bola was like, she couldn't afford Tribe Vibe.
Oh, but Bola, you remember Tribe Vibe because they used to charge
remembered Tribe
$25 for a t-shirt, but the quality was there.
Right.
Yeah.
And back then, that was definitely like a 25.
Do you guys remember, this is like for the hip hop heads. Do you guys, who out there remembers Knaps?
Of course,
Yeah,
Knaps.
sure.
Right on
Knaps.
4th Street.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
Of
Yep.
course. I just
All
want to
right,
say,
so
Renee,
we're at 140. So.
Renee introduced me to Tamron Hall, and I had like a severe crush, and I never shot my shot. Now she's married, she got a kid. Yeah, Renee introduced me to Tamron Hall one night at Milk River.
Yes,
B
she came
said
to my
she's
show.
D May's friend.
Yes, Derek. We all knew Tamron because Tamron, that was my crew
Yeah.
at Temple.
Dope. Shout
To
out to
this day.
Tamron.
Oh, Tamara went to Temple too?
Yeah.
Temple U. Oh, yeah.
Temple U.
B is in there. She put the owl. She's like,
And she found the owl emoji and the whole thing. All right, it's time for you to come. I want y'all to see my sister Kai come on through. Come through with the camo rip, right?
What's up? What's up?
Jason's here. Come through, Jay. Come through. You
Oh,
know
yeah,
me.
look, and we're matching.
And y'all
We
matching.
didn't
Y'all got
even
the
plan
camo
this.
rip.
We didn't even plan this.
Okay.
Let's go.
Camo
Let's
is
go
like
Knicks.
the
Suicide.
Knicks are doing
Let's
well.
go Knicks.
it's the
What? It's the what?
uniform.
It's the uniform for today. I don't have my camo on, but I wore my red and black lumberjack to represent Brooklyn because I was interviewing a Brooklyn legend.
And I'm representing African Chop House.
Shout out to Stanley.
Shout out to Stanley.
Yeah, shout out to
Shout out to
Stanley.
Stanley.
Shout out to Stanley. So listen, again, I want to thank you guys for rocking with us. This is amazing. Every Tuesday, it's another story. It's another history lesson, right? I really want to thank you, Renee, for trusting me. Because when we spoke,
Yes,
I know,
thanks for coming
I
through.
know that, you are very, I don't want to use the word guarded, but you're guarded about your space and who you give this kind of energy to. And for you to choose us to do this means a whole lot to me.
It really does.
And I do, and I
And
love
to
you, and
find
I'm
out
so
that she's
thankful
family,
for
she knows
you.
so many people.
Right, you know what I'm saying? She
Like,
came in and automatically it was like, yo,
so
boom,
many
boom, boom.
connections. I love
Right,
that.
and I just really, I'm thankful for you. And I meant what I said. Every time that we're together, you pour into me. And I appreciate that, and I love you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really,
I appreciate
real
you
talk.
having me.
Real talk.
Yes.
And
And
I'm gonna
everybody
crawl
that
back
watched.
into my show.
You guys. Next week we're gonna do it again. Every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I appreciate you guys rocking with us. We love you for that. I don't really know where this is headed. None of us know where it's headed, but with consistency and dedication and passion, we're gonna get to wherever we're going with this. So I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday. Stay blessed. Stay up too, because the world is crazy. Don't go into any AI scams, right? If somebody calls you, right, don't listen. You know what I'm saying?
But I would say learn as much as you can about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't
right.
be so afraid of it that you don't know
That you don't know.
what it is, because you need to know what to guard yourself from. So understand the language. I'm
Peace.
about to understand it.
It's
Yeah.
love. It's
Peace.
love. We'll
All
talk to
right.
you later, all right?
Great.
It's a wrap.